Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into the pretty controversial financial ideas of Robert Kiyosaki. His whole argument is that the advice most of us grew up with, go to school, get a good job, save your money, isn't just old-fashioned, it's actually holding you back. So let's get into why he thinks the financial rules have totally changed.
Right off the bat, Kiyosaki makes this incredibly bold claim. He says the traditional path to success, it's not just outdated, it's a trap. It's a set of rules built for a financial world that, frankly, just doesn't exist anymore.
So why does he believe this advice is so completely obsolete? Well, according to him, it all starts with a huge, fundamental change to what money itself even is.
Okay, this is a huge point in his argument. He pinpoints 1971 as the year everything changed. That's when the US dollar was taken off the gold standard. Now, what does that mean? It means money was no longer tied to a real physical asset like gold. Instead, it became what's called fiat currency, which means governments could basically create it out of thin air. For Kiyosaki, that single event broke all the old rules and turned saving money into a losing game.
And that leads us directly to the first major myth he loves to bust, this deeply ingrained idea that saving your money is the absolute safest way to build your wealth.
This question really gets to the core of his whole argument against saving. I mean, think about it. If the government can just hit print on trillions of new dollars whenever it wants, what does that do to the value of the cash you've worked so hard to sock away?
And this slide really lays out the two sides of that coin perfectly. When all that new money gets printed, it causes inflation, which just erodes the value of existing money. So for savers, that's a disaster. Your cash is worth less and less every year. But check this out. For debtors, it's actually an advantage. The real value of the debt they owe goes down, making it easier to pay back later with cheaper inflated dollars.
And that's how he gets to one of his most blunt, most memorable conclusions. In a system where money can be printed endlessly, just holding on to cash means you're fighting a battle against inflation that you're pretty much guaranteed to lose.
All right, next up, he takes aim at another sacred cow, the belief that a steady paycheck is the ultimate form of financial security. For most people, that's the bedrock of their financial life. But Kiyosaki, well, he sees it completely differently.
This lesson for him goes way back. His mentor, his rich dad, taught him that a paycheck trains you to be dependent. It traps you in a mindset where you work for money, essentially becoming a slave to it, instead of learning how to make money work for you.
This chart just nails the difference in thinking, right? The employee mindset is always looking for security from an outside source, that steady paycheck. An entrepreneur, on the other hand, finds security internally, through their own freedom and control. And look at failure. For an employee, it's a threat. For an entrepreneur, it's just a lesson you have to learn to get better.
And this story just says it all, doesn't it? There's no safety net. He's basically telling his old colleague, you're prepared to fail and then retreat to safety. For me, there is no going back. Failure wasn't something to avoid. It was a necessary step on a one-way path, and that fear becomes fuel, not a brake.
Okay, now get ready for this one, because it goes against everything most of us were ever taught. This is the idea that getting into debt isn't just okay, it's actually a core strategy for becoming wealthy.
And he's not just talking theory here. He does this on a massive scale. By refinancing this huge amount of debt to a lower interest rate, he slashed his expenses and created a massive increase in his cash flow. He's not running from debt, he's using it as a powerful financial tool.
So how does this actually work? Well, here's the basic playbook. First, you find an asset that generates income. Think of a rental property. Then, you use a loan, debt, to buy it. The income from that property then pays off the loan for you, and you're left with a profit or cash flow. And here's the kicker. The tax laws often favor these kinds of investments, allowing you to legally pay very little in taxes.
And that's the bottom line, isn't it? Debt and taxes are like a fork in the road. For most people, they're liabilities, draining wealth month after month. But for the financially educated, they become the primary tools you use to actually build wealth.
So, if all the old rules are broken, what are the new ones? Well, according to Kiyosaki, it all comes back to where you put your focus and control. It's all about your mindset.
He makes this really powerful distinction between the external economy, the stock market, government policies, your job, all the stuff you can't really control, and your internal economy. That's your world. That's your mindset, your skills, your choices. And he argues that your true financial power comes from building that internal economy.
And when you've got that strong internal focus, the whole game just changes. A bad economy doesn't look scary. It looks like an opportunity. You're not dependent on a job for security because you create your own. Mistakes don't crush you. They make you smarter. It's this core belief that no matter what's happening out there, you will find a way to succeed.
So really, it all boils down to this: taking absolute ownership. His whole philosophy is about controlling your own financial education, your mindset, and how you respond to the world, rather than just being a victim of what's happening around you.
And that leaves us with a final, really powerful question to think about. I mean, we all check the expiration date on a carton of milk, right? But when was the last time we checked the expiration date on our own ideas about money? Is our financial knowledge still fresh, or has it long since expired?